Dressel. Good afternoon to you, Anneliese.
Good afternoon, Patricia.
And you're very welcome and enjoying the wonderful sunshine.
It's fantastic, isn't it? And we have a week of it, I think, to come.
Yeah.
So.
Right, and right into the weekend. Actually, a relevant kind of a question with the sunshine. A listener who's been taking vitamin D for the last year has just had her blood checked, and the doctor told her she's got an overload of vitamin D. With the fine weather in particular, should we all drop our vitamin D that we take?
Yeah, that's what I'm recommending people, Patricia. And I'm saying a lot of people would be very careful about the sun and wear very high block. So I think in that case, I'd nearly take it every second day. So that way, at least you're not overloading, but you're still getting it if your body needs it. But for everybody else, I'm saying if you really want to take it once a week, and your body will take as much as it needs at that time. But at least because vitamin D stores in our liver, and in too high amounts will be toxic. Now, it will take a long time for people to get there to be toxic, but too much is also not good. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, but get out and try and get a little bit of sunshine while you can, especially while this wonderful weather that we have. Okay, questions coming in hot and heavy. Could you ask Anneliese, please, what would she recommend for constipation? Now, this is constipation caused by medication, says Breather.
So, yeah, well, that's always a difficult one, and there's quite a few medications do it. So there's a couple of things I'd recommend. The soluble fibre is generally better than the insoluble fibre. The big difference between the soluble and the insoluble is, I always think, if you can imagine, when you peel the strings off celery, that's insoluble fibre. It's kind of hard, very fibrous stuff that we get from our vegetables. It's we don't break it down. So it acts as a food for the good bacteria in our gut, and it puts bulk in the stool. But if you're constipated and if that starts getting packed up, it becomes so hard there's no shifting it. So that's where you want the soluble fibre. Soluble fibre goes to kind of like a gel-like substance in water or in our bodies. So it softens the stool and makes it much easier to pass. And the ones that would be high in soluble fibre are things like oatbran, psyllium husk. You can add all of these to your breakfast cereal. So instead of taking linseeds, whole linseeds, great fibre, but they're the soluble fibre and can get stuck if you suffer from constipation. Switch it over to putting a big spoon of oatbran on your cereal or psyllium husk. And then aloe vera is another lovely one as well that can help soften the stool, but also great for inflammation, in the gut if there's any inflammation. Aloe vera gel. Magnesium can work nicely as a laxative as well, and some people find it great. Take it at night time. And there's a nice natural laxative product that you can buy that has a lot of these things in it, and it's by a company called Aloe Pura, and it used to be called before colon complex. I think it's just called Aloe Complex now, and that's a blend of rhubarb extract, magnesium, and what else is in there? Aloe vera as well. So that's a lovely one. And then, of course, your fruits, specifically high in soluble fibre, would be your prunes, kiwis, pears and apples. So make a nice big stew of all of them, keep it in the fridge and put a big dollop into a yoghurt or onto your breakfast cereal every morning.
Okay, well done. And that tastes nice as well. Hi, could you ask Anneliese, please, is it bad to be taking turmeric if you suffer from gallstones?
No, actually. In fact, one of the advantages of taking turmeric if you've got gallstones is twofold. The first is that turmeric is a nice natural anti-inflammatory, but it's also actually a very bitter herb, and any of the bitter herbs are really good to stimulate bile production in the liver, and bile production is what we need in our gallbladder to flush it. It's only if we've got too much saturated fat in our diet that fat and cholesterol, and if there's not enough bile, that can start hardening in the gallbladder and create gallstones. So anything that keeps them soft and keeps them flushing through the gallbladder instead of sitting there and hardening is good, and turmeric is fantastic for that. Other things that would be good for gallbladder would be something called choline, which helps again to make bile. We get it in lecithin. Some people might be familiar with lecithin, taking it for lowering cholesterol, Patricia. It's brilliant for skin as well, and it's great for producing bile. And then all the bitter herbs, so things like dandelion leaves, artichoke is very good as well to support the liver. Milk thistle is another bitter herb. These are all fantastic for bile production and can help decrease your chances of developing gallstones. And then there's two things that are very good to soften gallstones if you do have them. One of them is called malic acid, and that can help keep them nice and soft. And I have lots of customers who would have either developed kidney stones or gallstones on a regular basis, and they would have kept coming back. And they take malic acid now and haven't had an incident since.
Brilliant.
And the other thing is something called Quebra Pedra. It's a South American herb, and that is also in English terms known as stone breaker. So that can also help soften stones so that you can pass them naturally.
Okay, Mary in West Cork has what she describes as itchy veins in her legs. Is there anything you could recommend to stop the itching?
Yeah, so itching there is definitely a sign of inflammation of the vessels that form the veins in the legs. And it would be very typical for people with varicose veins. They might see the varicose veins hardening or coming up. They might get pain in their legs. Some people get restless legs, but itching is definitely another symptom as well. So in that case, what I would be recommending is taking something like husk and horse chestnut, which are both brilliant natural remedies for the veins and the arteries in the body. They keep them lovely and healthy and flexible. And I would rub on then a good cream. So we get great feedback with the Dr. Claire Venotone cream. And people get immediate relief from that kind of twitching, itching, restless legs if they've got varicose veins. They rub it in the morning and again in the evening. And it's called Venotone, Venatone.
Okay, Niamh was checking her teeth recently, and she noticed inside her lower the back of her lower teeth, at the bottom of her mouth, something that she describes as a soft lump. It has a yellow drop in it, like it's infected almost. She said it looks a little bit like a boil. Now, she is planning on getting it checked out, but she's wondering, would Anneliese have any idea or any solutions?
It could be any one of a number of things, Patricia. Maybe it is a little boil. Maybe she's damaged it. Maybe it's a mouth ulcer that's become a little bit infected. Maybe it's a cut that's become infected. Maybe it's a little burn or something that's become infected. If it bursts and heals, it shouldn't be an issue. But if it doesn't heal up, that's when there's a problem with it. So I probably would give it a wash out with a bit of salt and water, keep an eye on it, and if it's not bursting and healing, you probably need to get the doctor to have a look at it just in case it is infected, but I don't think it's anything serious.
Okay, Joan has, I think, quite a common complaint. She has been put on a statin for cholesterol. Is there anything she can take to counteract the side effects? She's getting a lot of muscle pain, a lot of knee pain. Or would you have any other suggestion outside of statins to help to reduce cholesterol? This is quite a common problem, Anneliese.
Yeah, it is, Patricia. It's very common. So what the statin drug does is that it blocks the production of cholesterol in the liver. Okay. So it shuts down a pathway, an enzyme that does that conversion for us. So we make cholesterol in our liver from saturated fat, and actually most of it comes from our liver, not from cholesterol in our diet. So that's why eggs are actually fine to eat if you've got high cholesterol. It's the saturated fat you need to worry about more than anything. But in doing so with that blocking that pathway, it also blocks our body's ability to make something called coenzyme Q10. And this is a vitamin that is integral to the Krebs cycle energy pathway within the cell. So that's what produces all the cellular energy to drive everything that's needed, the metabolism of the cell, detoxification of the cell, the repair and replacement of non-functioning organelles in the cell. It's all run by that energy little pathway. And if you're deficient in coenzyme Q10, that pathway isn't going to be running properly, so your muscle's not going to be getting energy, so you're going to cramp. And a lot of people would also notice that they get a bit more forgetful, and sometimes I know that as some member of my own family got quite cranky on a statin, so it affected the mood as well. Some people might find that they get very breathless after maybe climbing a stairs. So these would all be very common side effects. So the first thing to try is, if you do need to take your statin, is take a high dose of coenzyme Q10 and start on a very good quality one of about 100 milligrams. And you will pay a lot of money for it. It'll probably be about 35 quid for a month. But if it works, you can certainly try to maintain the benefit by taking a cheaper, lower dose one going forward. But if it doesn't work, then maybe the statins don't suit you, and then maybe you need to look more to natural remedies. So natural remedies would be the extract of red rice yeast. It actually does exactly the same thing as the statin does, Patricia, and I don't know why it doesn't seem to have as many side effects, but maybe it's because it's not synthetic, maybe it's because it's from a natural source. There's other components in there that counteract the side effect. We don't really know. But I know myself, a lot of my customers who can't take statins take that red rice yeast very effectively. So there's good brands. We have a lovely one here by a Spanish company called Normacal. It's got some other bits and pieces in there. Maconta do an excellent red rice yeast supplement, which is really good, and that has CoQ10 in it just to counteract any potential side effects. And then the other one that works very well is the Artichoke. So any one of the three of those would be a good natural alternative to bring it down.
Okay, hi, advice please. I'm looking for help for a post-nasal drip from sinuses.
Okay, so post-nasal drip, the first thing I always say to people, is it worse at any time of the year? So is it worse in the summer, is it worse in the winter, or is it the same all year round? If it's the same all year round, it could be tied to something that you're eating, and dairy can be a big culprit for sinus and post-nasal drip, but other food intolerance can cause it as well. It could be like some people have an intolerance to eggs, some people it's wheat, some people it's pea or barley, oranges, tomatoes. So there's various different ones that can trigger it. It's like it's triggering a kind of an allergic response like hay fever. If you're worse in the winter, it's probably something to do with mold. And if you're worse in the summer, it's probably something to do with pollen. So ideally, you could try and figure out what's the main driver and deal with that. But then if you want to take something to get rid of the post-nasal drip, Dr. Claire does a lovely congestion blend that is a blend of different herbs that will help dry up that post-nasal drip. Some people find the mucotone. She does one with mucotone, which I normally recommend to treat a viral illness because it's got the echinacea immune boosters in there. But some people love that one and it works better for them. So they'd be my two main go-tos. And if you can't get your hands on the Dr. Claire stuff, Dr. Vogel, which you'll find the A. Vogel stuff in every health shop, they would have Ivy Thyme, which is also a good one to dry up mucus.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Enjoy the sunshine. We won't talk next week because it's bank holiday. Because the year is flying by. We'll talk in 2 weeks' time. Thanks, thanks, Anneliese. Bye-bye. That is Anneliese Dressel of the Health Hub, Times Square in Ballincollig. And later on this afternoon, Anneliese will put all of the advice that she gave us on her website as heard on the radio under that section, and that's on the healthhubstore.com. And we always get a lot of calls following Anneliese's slot of people, not if they hadn't taken down the name of a particular product. So I know that John Paul, when he works on the overnights and the podcast in the afternoon, it'll be put up as a separate podcast wherever you get your podcasts from.